Party people of the world! Do you know what time it is? It's music time. We are so pumped up to the jam to have you with us. I am Morgan Mitchell, and with me as always is Tanner Grover.
What's up, Morgan, and what's up, universe? You are indeed tuning into a podcast where two friends who love music, yet have virtually no musical acumen, take a deep dive into the vibes that really make us jive.
That's right, because if there's anything that unites us all, it's music. An audible sensation. To live without it is simply deprivation. So, we're here to hear and to share a little slice of a subject that gives us life.
Tick-tock, tick-tock. Are y'all ready to rock? Tell me, friends, what time is it on your clock?
It's music time! Welcome to It's Music Time. I am Morgan Mitchell.
And I'm Tanner Grover, and this is what we do, and today we are doing it with
Ben Shepard.
What's up, Ben?
Welcome, Ben.
Howdy, howdy. Happy to be here.
So thrilled you're here. So thrilled. All right, Tanner, take it away. Start us off.
All right. I mean, first of all, very brief intro for Ben. Very, very brief. But Ben is also known as YEYEY or YEYEY. We'll let the people decide. But we are so thankful to have you here. Ben, you're allowing us to use your song, Set the Dogs, as the theme song for our show. And we just love it. It really gets us going, and it's an honor to have you here today.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here.
Cool. Well, there's a whole lot of honors going on, which I love.
Yeah.
And one thing we're going to do, Ben, we like to start each episode with a little game, and we have a brand new game that we're going to introduce today. We're calling it All About the Benjamins. And here's how it works. We're going to come at you. We're going to propose. There are 5 little factoids, and they're all true. And the answer is either going to be Ben Folds of Ben Folds 5 or Ben Gibbard of Death Cab for Cutie. And we're going to want you to weigh in and choose and kind of decide which factoid you think this pertains to. Is it Ben Folds or is it Ben Gibbard? So are you ready to play All About the Benjamins?
Absolutely.
All right, Morgan, why don't you take it away?
Okay, Ben, here we go.
All right.
Number 1. Which Ben is an avid photographer and completed an assignment as a photo editor for none other than National Geographic? Was it Ben Folds or Ben Gibbard?
I'm going to say Ben Folds.
Woo! Power, yes. Correct. Number 1, check.
Very correct. All right, you're 1 for 1.
All right, number 2, let's go.
All right, Ben. Which Ben has a passion for cycling and trail running, completing dozens of ultra marathons? Is it Ben Folds or Ben Gibbard?
Wow. Again, I'm going to say Ben Folds.
Wow. Oh, close. It was Ben Gibbard.
It was the other Ben, wasn't it?
Gibbard, those Bens.
Color me surprised.
Yeah.
Number 3. Which Ben politely declined to play on the band Train's iconic single, Drops of Jupiter? Which was it?
Oh, thank God he did. I'm going to say Ben Folds because I just can't imagine Ben Gibbard being included in that conversation. It seems weird.
Yeah, Ben
I
Folds.
worked on a documentary for Train, actually. I met those guys. And
Really?
Oh, really?
Nice people.
That's so good.
Not a huge fan of the music, but they're very nice. So
Aww, that's always good to hear.
from the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. All right, we got 2 more. Number 4. Which Ben claims to be a hero, holding off a would-be mugger at knife point as a white teenager until they backed off?
That's got to be Ben Gibbard.
It's actually Ben Folds.
Oh, what?
Okay.
Yeah, he's a hero.
That's incredible.
Tanner, where are you finding this stuff, man? I don't even
The
understand.
depths of the internet.
Wow. Okay, the last and final question, the last and final, number 5. Which Ben claims to have eaten an embarrassingly large amount of tahini-flavored vegan ice cream during the quarantine of 2020? Which one?
Tahini flavored. Wow. I mean, Ben Gibbard?
Yes!
Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
Which is
Got a
ironic,
couple of those, huh?
given how into fitness he is, to eat all that ice cream. But yeah, correct.
Yeah. That must have been quite an admission, to get off his chest.
Yeah.
Probably let a lot of people down in the cycling community.
Tahini flavored vegan ice cream.
Yeah, that doesn't sound interesting to me.
It doesn't light me up, I gotta say. But I will say, I think you won this game because I think you got most of these right. And you're a Ben. So moving on. Rock and roll. Tanner, back to you.
Yeah. So Ben, one of the things we normally do is we highlight the number one song on the day our guests were born, and you blessed us with your presence on February 1st, 1982. Do you have any idea what the number one song on the Billboard charts were the day you were born?
It could have been like Stevie Wonder or Michael Jackson, but I don't know who.
Those are great guesses.
Super close.
Yeah, it actually was Centerfold by the Jay Giles Band.
Really? That was the number one song?
Yeah. Yep. Nah.
Way off.
Yeah.
Centerfold. Oh, yeah. I know that one.
Yep.
Centerfold.
My parents actually went to school in the Boston area, and they said that Jay Giles played everywhere around that time period.
Really?
Yeah. They went to Bentley University. But yeah, hey, it's a hit. It's your birthday song, man.
I love it.
Oh, try to remember that. It's a good party factoid.
Sure.
That's a good one.
Centerfold. What does that say about me?
Right.
I think it says that you're the most valuable part of the catalog.
You're in the center. You are the number one centerfold.
Oh, that's a really positive spin. I'll take it.
So, Ben, if it's okay with you, I'm going to read some of your bio that Tanner beautifully compiled from different sort of continents of the interwebs. But before I do, is there anything that you wanted to just sort of say about yourself? Just giving you that space and before we kind of read what we have.
How far did you dig?
Whew.
Kidding. Like, do I have to apologize in advance for something?
No, unless you want to. But no, I think we're in pretty good.
Yeah. Sure. No, I don't. I mean, let's see what you got.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, here we go. So I'm just going to read this, which is saying Ben Shepard is perhaps best known for his work with Uzi and Ari, an indie rock outfit that formed in 2003 in Salt Lake City. Uzi and Ari, sometimes melancholy, sometimes sunny aesthetic, fit really snugly into that early 2000s indie rock genre, reminiscent of artists like Death Cab for Cutie, Radiohead, or even Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah. Ben's DIY approach of self-financing and collaborating with friends and artists dear to his heart earned an outline fan base fervent for his music. In a decade's time, Uzi and Ari released 4 critically acclaimed LPs, as well as an astonishing EP of Bjork covers. The 2006 song Mountain Molehill was a breakthrough and gave the band an opportunity to tour internationally and see the world. Uzi and Ari would disband, but Ben would reinvent himself under the moniker of YEYEY, releasing The Vision in 2015, which features our show's opening song, Set the Dogs. which truly sets the tone for what we do here on this podcast. We're humbled and grateful to have a musical magician and superhero with us on the podcast today. Ben Shepard, welcome, and thank you again for joining us on It's Music Time.
Wow. Thank you. That was a lovely write-up.
Tanner's the man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I try. You know, I try. So, Ben, I stumbled upon Set the Dogs via the Netflix show Love, which was produced by Judd Apatow, features Paul Rust, and I forget the actress's name off the top of my head. Jillian Jacobs, that's exactly, absolutely. Yeah. And it's so funny because I remember the episode really vividly, Shrooms, and I remember hearing the song, and it's not even in the front of the mix on the episode. I just kind of heard this, thing kind of building as the characters are getting ready to try shrooms for the first time. And I was like, man, like, I got to figure this out. It just like, it bugged me the next day. I'm like, I know I like this song. And I don't know how you are with music, and I don't know how Morgan is, per se, and kind of how it affects your brain in a certain manner. But I was like hung up on it. And so I, went on a forum for the show and it, listed out all the tracks for the episode. And someone said, oh, it's, Set the Dogs by YEYEY. And so then I went and I downloaded the album, and like start to finish, man, it's a really special piece of work. And, it definitely resonated with me. I was listening to it 2 years after it had been released. And so I was wondering if you could just take a minute to kind of just talk a little bit about the record in your own words, because I only know it through my own lens.
Sure. Well, I was living in New York at the time. I'm always kind of putting out a record that is telling kind of a diaristic story about me that's, trailing back several years, because, I take a while to compile a group of songs, and then, it takes even longer, at least for me as a bedroom producer, to put it all together. And, so it often starts out conceptually as kind of one idea, and then it just goes packing in so much life of what I'm living. Each song ends up having, double, triple entendres for me, as metaphors, for different things that I'm going through. And that album touches a lot on coming to terms with losing my faith in Mormonism, and kind of the intellectual pursuit of truth at all costs, and how that can leave you, as you're kind of chopping down the tree that you're in, while you're in it, if that makes sense. It's, just hacking everything back to the ground and starting over at ground zero with your worldview, your belief system, your reality, really. There's a lot of self-doubt, and I was using psychedelics a lot at the time to kind of try to make sense of things and try to heal my mind from religious trauma. And at the same time, I was in a relationship, a long-term relationship that kind of started out as a bit of a refuge from all of that. And then, by the end of it, we're both kind of taking refuge from each other, I think. And so there's just a lot of layers between all of those. That's why I picked the name The Vision, because it was like it had a metaphor that coincided with Mormonism, with Joseph Smith's, they call it the first vision in Mormonism. It's kind of the founding spiritual experience of the religion that everything is kind of centered on, of him seeing God the Father and Jesus Christ in a forest when he was praying about which church he should join. And so it was kind of like embracing my own vision You know, and also as seen through the psychedelic experience, that facet of it as well, and then you know, trying to see through the vision of another person in a relationship is, I think, one of the most difficult things we can try to do. You know, we kind of just project everything onto the other person. I think that's kind of represented a little bit in the artwork of just the paint, just like covering someone else in the projections that we, you know, put out into the world based on our traumas, our experience, our egos, you know. But
So I found it. It reminds me a lot of Tom York's first solo album, like is it Avalanche, or is that the single?
the Eraser.
The Eraser, right?
Yeah.
The Eraser. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that. But I think that the main difference I felt just as a listener was like I'm listening to something that I describe as alien, but not alienating. Like I felt connected to it. Whereas like a lot of that album, The Eraser, I can listen to it and enjoy it, but it didn't really connect with me in the same way. And for whatever reason, the vision did. So yeah, I mean,
Wow.
for all that you went through, I mean, I just want to say, you know, thank you as a fan because that album as a whole has really meant a lot. And you know, I can put it on, and it might have helped you work through some traumatic stuff, but it helped me as well, I guess, just as a fan.
That's really cool. Thanks,
Yeah,
Tim.
totally, totally. So I know that you're still, working with um, music, and you're featured on an Arms and Sleepers single, Orion. And you've known those guys for a long time. So, I mean, do you have any other projects in the pipeline coming up, or are you still working on stuff?
Yeah, so I have a new record that is going to be released in February. The first single is coming out in October. There'll be a music video that I just shot in Salt Lake and in LA that is being edited right now. So that'll come out with the single. There's going to be a remix by an artist that I really, really like called Mr. Tape that's going to accompany that. You should check out Mr. Tape on Spotify. They do a lot of remixes. Really, really good electronic music. Also, yeah, so singles will come out like every month until the album release. Then I have an EP that has some remixes by Arms and Sleepers and Sun Glitters, which is an electronic project from a guy named Victor in Luxembourg that actually was one of the founders of Own Records, which was the label that put out a bunch of the Uzi Ari stuff in Europe. And it'll have some unreleased tracks from these sessions from my new record, which is called Last Blush. And then I've done some other remixes recently as well. I did one for Sun Glitters that you could find on his Spotify with a vocalist named Nadine Carina. She's really cool. She's Italian, I think. And she did a version of one of my songs for this EP that's going to come out after the album, which will be probably next summer. So, but yeah, it's just going to keep rolling out. I have a lot of stuff in the pipeline. Also working on an electronic, just kind of, house techno kind of album with a really close buddy of mine in LA. So working on a lot of stuff.
That's awesome.
Wow, that is colossal, beautiful, so exciting.
Yeah. Thanks.
I love it.
Do you anticipate that you might tour at some point, or is that kind of far off?
So I'm working as a school teacher now.
Okay, yeah.
So 9 months of the year are kind of off limits for touring, but I'm gonna try to do like 2 or 3 weeks next summer, maybe like a East Coast, West Coast thing, and then a couple weeks in Europe, like I did when I released the Vision.
Awesome.
Mostly just because I want to see some of my friends over there. It's been a long time.
Yeah, well, hey, if you come East Coast, we're in Maine.
We'll be there.
But yeah, we'll be there, man. Boston's not that far off, so
Yeah, I played Boston last time at Great Scott, and they just moved to a new venue, so that would be cool to go back there again. And then maybe a New York show.
Love it.
that's awesome.
Ooh, I hope so. I hope so.
That's cool.
Very good.
So Morgan, what's our deep cut of the day?
Okay, so part of the episode that we usually meander toward the end is this idea of the deep cut. So a question that's sort of a little strange or reflective. This one's pretty easy to kind of think about, but maybe also complex. But we're looking at one of your favorite live music experiences, why it touched you, in what way you were moved or affected by it. What stands out when you think about live music performances?
Cool. So definitely one of my more recent exciting music experiences was, well, I've seen Madison Cunningham twice now in about 3 years. My good buddy from high school, Daniel Ryan, plays bass in her band. And so we've gotten to see her in like small clubs and big clubs. Most recently at USANA with Hosier. And I took my daughters to that show. And I mean, she's just a flawless performer, incredible, finger-picking guitar player and songwriter. Her songs are really exciting, and she's inspiring. My girls were just floored to have an experience like that. There were like 10,000 people there at USANA, and everybody's like waving their cell phones in the air and stuff. And that was their first concert, and they were just, the hugeness of the sound and just being around that many people. It really brought back to me the thrill of live music, what it can do for people, especially when they don't take it for granted. My daughters have so few of those experiences that they're just soaking it all up. Whereas sometimes I think we get jaded as a society, with the value that we put on music, since it's so accessible. But also there's so much music now that, if you go to a club any night of the week, you're more than likely to hear a DJ than a live band, unless you live in Austin, Texas. I mean, even Nashville, I have friends that DJ down there. I mean, it's just, I love all music. I love dance music, but there is something really, really special about 4 or 5 or even more players together that, they don't have any backing tracks. There's no click track. They're just all feeling each other and moving together as one body. There's nothing like it. So get out and see live bands as much as you can, because they are special, and it takes a lot of work now in society to make the time that it takes to be a tight, cathartic rock band. I mean, you gotta put in the work. So
can I ask how so how old are your daughters?
They are 7 and 8.
7 and 8. Okay, so I have nieces that are 6 and 4, and one of them is definitely, I think, musically inclined. The other one's kind of a rugby player. But we're definitely kind of trying to search for that good first concert experience for them, and how cool it is that you got to experience it. And see it through their eyes, and that's amazing.
Oh yeah, it was really, really special.
Wow.
Hope I always remember it.
Totally. Morgan, how about you?
Yeah. Gosh, there's a few, but before I do speak to that, I just wanted to say, like, what you said, there's so many things about what you said that are really resonant and powerful. But what you just said about, like, it's rare to find a band that really takes the time it takes to create a cohesive, like, synergy. And I feel that deeply in a lot of creative pursuits, but that time is this, like, amazingly precious resource, and that creative process, when given the space and time it needs to, like, evolve over time, you really can't manufacture that. And, like, what a privilege to witness people that are, like, really in their process and have allowed it to marinate and gel and refine their chemistry and their individual crafts in that way. Like, that's big.
Yeah.
That's really big. So for me, like, I guess it wasn't a band, but it was an individual. I saw Richie Havens, who opened for Woodstock. Richie Havens is an amazing, he passed away not too long ago, just a few years ago. But incredible guitarist, singer, songwriter, amazing, just, like, spiritual force of a human being. And I saw him and met him and chatted with him here in Boothbay Harbor, actually, at a place called the Boothbay Opera House. Lots of really good shows we've both seen there. And just witnessing him, so much of his music is activism. So much of his music is poetry. So much of his music is, like, I would say all of his music is just, like, full body. Like, he plays a guitar, but he plays a whole guitar. He does a lot of, like, tapping and rattling on the instrument, and you could see, like, where he'd been strumming in his hands. And he has this one guitar that he was playing that was all kind of bunged up from the labor of his passion on this instrument. And, like,
Wow.
It was so moving just to witness him doing what he's done for so many years, with such cause and life and power, just so much power. So I would say that experience really moved me deeply and changed me for sure. Richie Havens. Yeah, gosh, that was probably, could have been 10 years ago, but that would be mine. What about you, Tanner?
So yeah, when you talk about, sometimes we're spoiled and sometimes we're jaded by, seeing wonderful artists. And I've had the opportunity to see, bands that I really admire, like Radiohead or Pearl Jam or Sigur Rós, the B-52s. I mean, all great shows. And so when I really try to think of, like, a live show that meant a lot to me, I almost have to look outside of the music and take into account the experience as a whole.
Sure.
And so a buddy of mine, him and I, we went to the Middle East downstairs in Boston. This is in 2007. And we saw 3 bands. We saw Delta Spirit, we saw Tokyo Police Club, and we saw the Cold War Kids. And so I think you've played the Middle East downstairs before.
Yeah, I played with Y.
And so, I mean, it's basically a basement, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're down there and there's pipes overhead. And I remember, navigating my way to the elevator. I use a wheelchair for any of our listeners who don't know. I have SMA. And so, accessibility is very important in my life. And so I'm like, all right, we get to the elevator and the elevator door opens up and there's this girl passed out on the floor. And I'm like, I think we need to, like, take care of this person before I can use the elevator. And they're like, okay. So the bouncer kind of helps revive her and she's okay. And I'm, like, looking at the walls of the elevator and I noticed some projectile vomit and I'm like, okay, this is fine. But then I get down to the Middle East downstairs, and it's very crowded, and I can't see very well. And so the boys from the Cold War kids, there's like a little side stage that's ramped up, and they kind of see me, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you come over and watch the show from the side stage?"
Cool.
And so I hung out with Delta Spirit, Tokyo Police Club, the Cold War kids, got to watch a great show. I mean, I was, 23 at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And
it means so much when you're that young, too.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the live show I wanted to highlight. That really meant a lot to me, and it was just a different period in time. And I don't really remember much of the music, and I remember I enjoyed it, but it was really just the experience from start to finish that really meant so much.
Yeah, that sounds pretty epic.
It was. And that leads us into our next segment, actually, which is the Mix It Up playlist. So for all of our listeners, we have a playlist that will accompany this episode that you can click on in the Spotify description. And I've submitted 4 songs, as has Ben, as has Morgan. I'll jump right into it. So the song I wanted to highlight that's on that playlist is Citizens of Tomorrow by the Tokyo Police Club, which is, I think it's kind of about like dystopia, and it's a little appropriate now, especially in this AI generation that we're living in. Where I almost feel like, robots might replace us if we're not careful.
Never.
But it's a great track, and I actually have learned that Tokyo Police Club, they're on their final tour, and they're going to disband, but they are touring across America, wow. I think throughout November. So if you have a chance, get out and see them. They are a great live act.
That's awesome.
But Ben, what song would you like to highlight for the Mix It Up playlist?
Maybe that remix. It's called Cloudy. It's a Daphne song. Daphne is the side project of Dan Snaith's Caribou, or Caribou's Dan Snaith, I guess would be the accurate way to say that. It's his like dance side project, and this remix was just like an Italian producer who he just downloaded the track and like soloed. I mean, he just found a part of it where like the melody was isolated from the drums, and he just made his own remix without having stems or anything. Usually you have like separated tracks out from a song. So he just sent it to Dan, and it was just a banger. So he released it. And I mean, I've always loved Caribou and Daphne. I love, Dan was classically trained as a pianist. So there's like a really neat piano line that kind of goes through the whole track, but it's just set up in such a way that it's like, I mean, he like sped it up a little bit. He bumped it up like maybe one step melodically as well. And it makes it a little bit more peppy, and like, it's like a really good mood, a good vibe to really, really get you excited for the day. It's just one of the most fun tracks I've heard in the last year, probably. So check that one out for sure.
Totally. I love that.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
This whole playlist, I have been sneak peek listening to it, and it's serious. It's a banger. It's like if you need a little pick me up, we are going to be levitating here shortly. Like, it's a really the combination of all the selections are really good. I think mine were a little more mellow. I mean, I chose "Gotta Be Real" by Cheryl Lynn. Like, it's just like one of my favorite songs. But the reason why I chose it is because the interludes, I think, are really interesting. Like, they're really generous. Like, they go on for a really long time. Like, you're listening to the song, and it takes a really long time to start, and then there's like all these long interludes. And I just always like it for that reason, where they like really took its time.
Yeah,
like it doesn't, it's not it's not in your face. It's like trying to like pump you up, or like, you know, it's delivering this incredibly like crystallized message, and yet it's like really letting you just kind of be with the beat, and it builds really beautifully. So that's the song I chose.
Cool. I can't wait to listen to it.
Yeah, it's a good classic.
I think that's the cool thing about these playlists is everyone comes at it from a different angle, and you know, Morgan and I, we contribute to each one, but it's at times it's kind of like it's gonna be diverse, you know, just because of like what it is. I mean, it's a mixtape. Yeah, it literally is a mix of songs.
Yep. And particularly interesting because it's, you know, three people that we know each other, but the combination of those three energies in this random little thing, it's a real treat for folks. So thank you for giving us your pieces that you're into right now.
Pleasure.
Yeah, we truly appreciate it. So yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of the episode. I mean, Ben, what an honor, man. This is like surreal. I feel like
a dream come true.
You're like my Taylor Swift, dude. Like, you know?
I take that to heart because my daughters are Swifties, man.
It's real.
They just brought home a pack of pens that say, like, you know, we only listen to Taylor's versions, or, you know, established in 1989, or, you know, Swiftie Club for life, you know. Everything's Taylor Swift right now.
Yeah, there's a whole other, she's got her own vernacular that I don't even understand. And hidden messages, too. Do you know about the hidden messages?
I haven't been privy to those yet.
Lots of Easter eggs in there.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you have any swag, Ben? Does YEYEY have any swag? Like, should we be like wearing visors or hats or bags or pens?
Actually, I am releasing some swag with the new record. There's hoodies. There's a sublimated hoodie that's like the whole album artwork that goes around the whole hoodie.
Oh, yeah.
We've got like some mugs with like the, you know, YEYEY logo, and what else did we have? A couple of t-shirts and stickers from characters from the music video, which is going to be really fun.
Oh, that's cool.
All the characters in the music video have these different masks on, and
okay, I'm into this.
Really goofy, fun video. So I'm excited to share that in October.
Love it.
Cool. Well,
love it.
Thank you so much for giving us a preview of all the exciting stuff to come. That's awesome.
Totally.
Sure.
Where can people find you if they're looking to learn about you or follow your story?
Well, the music's on all the streaming channels, and you know, YEYEY is how you spell it. I also have an Instagram, it's just YEYEY Music. That's primarily where you find me.
Great.
Cool.
So.
Perfect.
All right. So we are at It's Music Time on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. So be sure to leave us a review. You know, we're a young podcast. We're really, you know, thrilled to have the opportunity to talk to artists such as Ben. And we've got episodes lined up so far for the month of September and throughout part of October. So we're going to keep it going.
Definitely. And if you know of folks that want to be interviewed or who are passionate about music, feel free to send them our way. Ben, thank you so deeply much from the bottom of our hearts. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. In the meantime, stay cooler than cool, and we'll see you next time.
And don't turn off that dial quite yet. We do have an encore performance of YEYEY performing a takeaway show. This track is The Cloud of Unknowing. All right. Thank you, Ben. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye, Ben. Thanks so much. Bye.
through dust. Then it won't mean much. Escape that clutch. Just open up your eyes. There is no reason why you should segregate your love. Your heart will bend in unseen dimension. I know there's room enough. I could be sorry, love, for unsettling your hurt. When I touched your hand and kissed your cheek, I knew what it was worth. I know one day I'll die, but I wanna say this first. Whatever words will make you sure your sun is in my sky. And there's nothing I'd rather do, my love, than to yell aloud from my rooftop. You're my love, but I keep on singing the blues, love, 'cause you're the one that's got you, my love.
The It's Music Time podcast is an independent passion project produced by Tanner Grover and Morgan Mitchell. The theme song for this podcast is by Ben Shepard, the artist known as YEYEY. Find him on Instagram at YEYEY Music. Thanks for tuning in to the It's Music Time podcast. See you next time.